And so it is Tuesday. Welcome back to my kitchen. This is my favorite part. We start doing the cooking. First thing I'm going to make is French apple cake. This is a delicious cake I started making a couple years ago. It's very popular. Uses fresh Granny Smith apples. All the ingredients out here: some eggs, some flour, some sugar, some confectioner's sugar, baking powder. The last time I made this a few weeks ago, it came out a little flat, and I think my baking powder was expired, so I bought new. A little lemon juice, and then the really special ingredients: Calvados. This is an apple brandy. Won't use much of it. There's not much left in that bottle, but I have another one. Limoncello. Okay, this is an Italian liqueur. Very, very delicious. We'll use it in our cake. Salt. Now I use a salt grinder. I put kosher salt in here and grind my own salt. It's a little better, I think. This cake is going to be made in a springform pan. And we'll spray that with a little bit of vegetable oil so nothing sticks. I put the springform pan on a baking sheet. The reason I do that is sometimes the springform pan leaks. This will catch it and not make a mess in the oven. Speaking of messes, you will see as we go along, I'm a messy cook. Stuff flies everywhere. So one of my secrets is this. I take my shoes off. Can you see that? My socks. That way when I spill something on the floor, my socks soak it up and the cleaning is easy. I'm always interested in things being easy. All right, let's get started. First we have to peel the apples. I'm going to peel them right here and collect the peels because I'll throw all the peels. We're doing a lot of peeling. Potatoes and squashes and apples and carrots. All that's going to go on my compost pile. I don't put it in my septic tank. So I'll start peeling the apples. Okay, the apples are peeled. I started doing some of the slicing. I'll show you my slicing technique. First off, make sure you've got a very sharp knife. I keep my knives very sharp. Get the rest of the peel off of there. Cut the apple into a quarter, and now you can get rid of the core. By cutting at an angle, there's the core right there. And that'll go into my compost bag. Now when I slice apples or anything, I do it on a bias like this. The reason I do that is it keeps the apple flush on the board for a much longer period of time. It's easier to finish the slicing. Okay? Just one of the things that I do. Okay, the apples are all sliced. Put them into a bowl, microwave safe bowl. Do they make bowls these days that aren't microwave safe? I don't know. All recipes say use a microwave safe bowl. I don't think I could find one that wasn't safe. But what we're going to do is microwave these on high. Start out for 3 minutes. Well, we want to get them to a point where they're not fully cooked, but are just become a little translucent. You can almost see through them. So I'll take these over. Okay, my apples came out of the microwave. I ended up 4 minutes. You can see how they're kind of limp. They're not fully cooked. They're kind of limp and you can see through them a little bit. That's translucent. Put on top of that a little Calvados, a little lemon juice, mix it up, and set that aside to cool because they're quite hot now after coming out of the microwave. While those are cooling, I have here a cup of flour, a cup of sugar, a couple of teaspoons of baking powder, and a little bit of salt. Get that all mixed up nicely. Yeah, you can see stuff starting to fly, right? That's what I said. It gets messy in here. Now we will stir in the apples that have been sitting there patiently cooling. Not just the apples, we don't want any of the juice that's in the bottom. Just apples. Let's see how that is. Oh, that's going to be just fine. That's going to be fine. Now, That goes into the bottom of this spring form. Okay. And I want to press the apples down in there a little bit so they're not sticking up too much. And that 1 cup of batter, we're now going to add to that 2 teaspoons of flour. 1, 2. So these 2 batters are now quite different. The bottom one has 2 extra egg yolks, and the top one has 2 extra teaspoons of flour. It ends up with a very different consistency. I'm going to very carefully pour that on top. We want it to stay floating on the top. That looks very nice. Okay. That looks marvelous. Put that on our baking sheet. Okay, while our French apple cake is in the oven, we'll start processing our turkeys. This is the smaller of the 2 birds, 16.6 pounds. We take the giblets out, put them in this bowl. We're going to use what's in the bag. Okay. I use the Julia Child method of roasting a turkey. The problem with roasting turkeys is the breast meat wants to get to 175 degrees and the dark meat wants to get to 165 degrees. How do you do that with 1 bird? I've used various techniques. Julia Child has a technique that I think is the best, and I've been doing it this way for a while now. You separate those 2 pieces. First thing we're going to do is take the dark meat off. First piece of dark meat. And get them both to be perfectly well done. But it's got to be right there. There it is. It was up further than I thought it was. Okay. So now we have 4 parts of turkey. We got the breast with wings attached. We've got the 2 pieces of dark meat, thighs and drumsticks, and the back. We're saving that back. That's going to make fantastic turkey gravy. We're not quite done with this assembly yet. We want to take these thigh bones out of here. Those thigh bones make it take longer to cook than you want. So if we get rid of them, and we just get down in here and just skim around the bone. Okay, I want to show you how I finish up these thighs and drumsticks. I've deboned the thigh. I've taken the bone out. We're going to use that for gravy. It gets this nice cavity. I put in some sage, a little bit of pepper, and my secret ingredient. I keep this in my kitchen all the time in my refrigerator. This is garlic butter that I've made up. I'm going to tuck it right down in that cavity. And now, we're going to close that up and tie it up. when you're tying this up, make sure you leave a nice long piece here, because you're going to use that later on. Usually about 2 ties will do it. Get that cinched up nice and snug. Cut off a piece here. We're going to wrap this right around, up through this groove, and tie that to that long piece that you left in the beginning. And there you have a nice turkey. Okay, we're moving on to making our turkey gravy here, using all those parts we took out of turkey. And I wanted to show you something here. This recipe calls for a bunch of cloves of garlic. I grow my own garlic here. These are all my own, so I use half as much because these are very potent. And the recipe says to leave one peeled. Well, that makes no sense to me. How are you going to get the good garlic flavor if it's still inside the peel? So I peel it. But the way I peel garlic, you know, garlic can be a pain to peel. I know that one came across easy, didn't it? Make a liar out of me. Go ahead. There we go. Here's an easy way to peel garlic. Take your chef's knife, the flat of it, squish the garlic. The peel comes off nice and easy. See that? Just squish it. And it ends up kind of mashed, and to me that's a heck of a lot more appealing than okay, our turkey gravy is now on the cooktop, cooking down. I roasted the turkey parts and vegetables 425 for a couple of hours, and then added a couple bottles of wine, a bunch of chicken stock, some water, some thyme. Put it on the cooktop. We're going to cook that down and let it thicken a bit, and then we'll finish it off tomorrow. So while that's cooking, I'm going to start the lemon meringue pie. I first made lemon meringue pie just a couple of weeks ago, making it from scratch, of course, starting with lemons. And I made my own pie crust. And it turned out the hardest part of the whole project was making the pie crust. So I decided next time I'm going to buy pie crust, because that takes a lot of work out of the job. I mentioned it to my friend Janet, who's part owner of the little store, Homestead Grocery and Deli down the road. I said, I'm going to buy my pie crust. She says, no, no, just don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. You have to make it yourself. You have to make your own pie crust. Oh, she was horrified that I was going to buy it. I said, oh, I'm going to buy it. So I had pie crust on my grocery list, and I stood there, ready to buy the pie crust, and I couldn't do it. Janet would be horrified. I knew it. I'll make my own. Okay, fine. So on the way home, I stopped at the Homestead to pick up some more of those eggs, those local eggs I was telling you about. I told Janet, you shamed me into it, Janet. I hate to do it, but I'm going to make my own pie crust. And she's all smiles, and she says, I'll tell you what I'll do, Giovanni. I will make the pie crust for you. Come back tomorrow, which is today, and I'll have it ready for you. And here it is. I picked it up just a couple of hours ago. Now, she told me some of her secrets. She didn't tell me how to make the pie crust, but she said when you roll it, always roll the same direction. Rotate the board. Roll the same direction. Rotate the board. Roll the same direction. And then when you got it out and you got it in your pie pan, put it back in the refrigerator. You want it to be ice cold before you put any of the ingredients in there. So we're going to do that. Okay, here we go with Janet's pie crust. Always roll the same direction. I let this warm up to almost room temperature. And this is the way she told me to do it. Rotate the board and always roll the same direction. And there we have it. Pie crust in a pie pan. I even fluted the edges a little bit there. It doesn't look too shabby. I'm going to put that in the fridge. Okay, now we're ready to make the filling for the lemon meringue pie. We have here 6 egg yolks, the zest from 1 lemon, juice from 3 lemons, and I squeezed that myself. I've got the carcasses right here to prove it. A cup of sugar, 1/4 cup of cornstarch, 2 tablespoons of butter. We're gonna, and 1½ cups of water. Sugar, cornstarch, just a touch of salt. and the water. Now we move over to the cooktop. We'll get this going. Okay, it's just it's beginning to thicken. We add the egg yolks in a little at a time. Get them mixed in good. It's that good yellow color. It's really thickening now. Now the zest. Get all that zest in there because that adds a lot of real lemon flavor to it. As does the lemon juice. Remember I told you how I make messes? There'll be some serious cooktop cleaning happening here. Not too long from now. And the butter. Okay, now we're ready to make the meringue. Got egg whites and a little bit of vanilla in there. And we'll start this out slow. First you got to plug it in. That's the trouble with these darn machines. If you don't get everything exactly right, they don't work. So I will start out slow. Increase the speed. Let's say those egg whites are just... Well, you didn't get to see me finish making the meringue and assembling the pie because my camera battery died. I wonder if Spielberg has these problems. Back to the turkey gravy. Now I'm going to take these turkey parts out of here. I'm going to save these because I'm going to pick some of the meat off of them. There's some good pieces of dark meat in these backs. Here's how we make my killer cranberry sauce. That's what the recipe calls it, killer cranberry sauce. In the pot right now is sugar, zest from a couple of navel oranges, and orange juice, sugar and the orange juice. This is really simple. I've got here 4 bags of fresh cranberries, which I've rinsed. Sometimes they got a little dirt and grime on them, so I rinsed them off. You pop them in here. And you cook until the cranberries pop. There we go. We're getting there. I'd like this to get done in the next few minutes because MJ will be home and I want the video to be a surprise. Because otherwise she might not let me do it. There we go. Alright. That's nice looking cranberry sauce now. I want to turn the heat off. Mix in the pecans. Pecans just add a nice little flavor, complement the berries. Oh, that looks perfect. Let that cool, And we've got cranberry sauce.